Some of the leading figures from across Irish technology, social innovation, music, sport and business will be on hand today to announce details of the AIB Future Sparks Festival 2019. And now in its second year, over 7,500 senior level students will descend upon the RDS on the 14th of March for an event that will bring together business leaders and young entrepreneurs to inspire students and show them the power of their potential. Representing the world of sport will be Irish rugby legend Peter Stringer, who's with us now. You know, obviously have lots of potential as a dancer, it turns out. Are you a bit knackered?
I am a bit knackered now. It was a long day yesterday in the studio from 8 o'clock in the morning till about 11 o'clock last night. It's a long process.
Yeah.
But look, something different, something out of my comfort zone, something that I'm enjoy doing, and I'm still in it to fight another day, as they say.
I was making the point though that like you have a slight advantage in that you are a professional athlete and have kind of at least got some experience with the physical stuff.
It's the two left feet that come at a bit of a disadvantage. It is tough. Look, and there are actors in there who can bring out performances. Yes, the fitness side of things is not a problem for me. It's mentally learning routines and trying to transfer those messages from your head down to your feet and your hands, and that's the challenge.
So for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, how wide has the spectrum been in terms of the different dances you've executed?
So yeah, initially I was a salsa, then I was to a quick step, and last night I was a paso. So going from kind of a Latin to a ballroom to a Latin dance is very, very difficult. And the quick step was quite tough for you to maintain a very still upper body, but your feet were going 100 miles an hour. So, and the different foot positions which they critique you on. So your foot can be turned out for one and turned in for another, and it can be completely wrong. So it's learning those kind of finer details, which is not easy.
Is there any correlation between professional sport that you've seen that like, oh, you know, we're going to try a new move from a set piece? It's like, no.
Absolutely nothing. I think if you're a lifter in a line out, week one for me was able to lift my dancer, and that was a big plus. Certain dances you can't lift, which I was a bit disappointed about because I feel that that's kind of an area that I can I have a bit of an advantage on. Yeah, pick stuff up, exactly. But other than that, there is absolutely no correlation to anything that I've done before. Yeah.
So you're looking into a new dance this week?
Looking into a new one, yeah. So we're back in the studio today, learning a new routine.
What's it going to be?
We're not allowed to say yet, actually.
Right.
We're under strict guidelines not to say, but it's very, very tough.
Is it basically full time?
It's full time. We are in 7 or 8 hours a day rehearsing, and it's left up to your own devices in terms of with your dancer how many hours you put in.
Right.
But obviously, the more time that you put in during the week, you know, you don't want to make a fool of yourself on national television live in front of hundreds of thousands of people. So
you've done all that though. You've been in big games where you know loads of people are watching. This is obviously just completely different though.
It's completely different. It is, and do you want, as an experience, it is quite nerve-wracking. You go out in front of a live show and people are there to, you know, support you, and they're fanatics of the show. The people who go to see it and people who watch it and follow it. But it's so far, I suppose, out of your comfort zone, and to do something like that doesn't come naturally to you, and you try and learn routines, you learn footwork and you learn steps, and as the weeks go on you try and you hopefully feel that it comes naturally to you. But when you have to think about stuff, rugby was like you go out, you do it, your natural movements just happen because you've done it for so long. When you're doing something for 2 or 3 weeks, it's just it feels a little bit awkward at times.
Have you got any constructive criticism from your former teammates?
Constructive criticism is a very, very a difficult thing to say. There's been criticism, whether it's constructive or not. Plenty of WhatsApp messages on the group, which you'd expect. I'd be disappointed if guys had forgotten about me, and there's plenty of guys chipping in and on
it's just
what
jealousy.
to do.
It's just
jealousy, but you know what? Individually, you're getting a lot of kind of positive messages from guys, but on the group, they all want to be the lads, and they all want to, you know, Peter Claus, you know.
What's he said?
He's just check out the heels on the whatever, blank out that word. So, you know, for Latin dances you wear, my heels are probably 2 or 3 inches, which I probably needed for my wedding actually, but they actually would have come in quite handy.
Very nice, yeah.
Yeah, so it's plenty of criticism in terms of what I'm wearing and the tan and everything, so Donncha can really relate to anything, you know, everything that I'm kind of doing in that side of things. So he's given me plenty of advice on how to tan up properly. Yeah.
Did you think twice about it, or was it like, yeah, I'm definitely going to do that?
I thought a lot more than twice about it, yeah. And it's something that I said I would never do because I've never even had those moments of venturing onto a dance floor because you don't drink. You know, you're standing back and you feel that as soon as you go out there, that the whole dance floor will empty. People have just all eyes on you, and you think that's the way it is. If anyone goes out to a nightclub sober, I'm sure they're the same way. So I said I'd never ever do it. If someone said to me, what's your worst nightmare? It would be dancing in front of people. The first day we went to the studios, it was a case where we needed to stand in front of a green screen, in front of about 15 producers, choreographers, directors, and they said, okay, we need you to freestyle dance for 20 minutes. And after 10 minutes into it, they said, would it help if we put some music on?
Oh,
so
no.
you're just there, dancing with no music, and they're just give us something. I'm like, well, I need you to tell me what you want, because it just doesn't come naturally.
Yeah.
So that was probably the worst day of my life and the worst experience I've ever been through. But my wife convinced me to do it, and she said, look, you're someone who takes on challenges, and there will be no bigger challenge than this. Yeah.
But it does mean that there's no significant time that you've had away from the game where you're like, what am I going to do next? That, like, it's a weird but brilliant bridge from being a professional athlete into something very intense, that after that's over you can kind of, maybe, I guess, you're kicking the can down the road a little bit in terms of dealing with the fact that you're finished as a professional athlete after so long.
Maybe that's why I did it.
But it's a great idea. Like,
I said, I finished in the summer, I announced my retirement, and I said I would take 6 months just to clear the head, have a think about what I wanted to do, come back from the UK, come back to Cork and be around family, and with a young son, 21 months old, just to enjoy a bit of life with family and to step away from the game. And this came up as an opportunity, and I said, do you know what, let's just go for it. The timing was right, and it just seemed like the right thing to do, whether it is or not. But look, I'm enjoying it. It's oh, there we go, look at those, pink suits.
You get to keep all those, do you?
You get to keep them, yeah. It's, but look, it's something that for anyone who's looking to do something out of their comfort zone, go do it. It's so easy in life to say no to things, and I know that the end of March would have come and I would have regretted not doing it. So I said, look, just go for it. You put up with the slagging, and just here I am.
How badly do you want to win it?
I'd love to win it, and it's the same with anything you do. I'm someone that if I'm in something, I'm 100% in it, and there's no point in being in something if you want to win it. Obviously, look, there's dancers there who are, better than me at the moment, and I'm working hard at developing different kind of routines and working on my footwork and stuff. But that'll hopefully come as the weeks go on if I'm still in the competition. But there's no point in being in it if I'm only giving it 50%. So that's just in my nature, my character.
I'm curious about the retirement and what that's been like, because when Donncha was in the previous year before he announced his retirement, it kind of felt like he was getting to the point where he was ready to retire anyway. That he'd seen, and he'd scratched the itch of going away from Munster and getting out of that and getting out of the Irish environment, and it was really good for him. But you could also see that, like, he was happy to be the old guy in the changing room when there's two separate WhatsApp groups, one about the snip and one about going out. Were you ready at the end? Had you reached that point, or did you want to continue?
Do you know what? If the right opportunity came up and you had a bit of stability and a contract, then I was in good physical shape. Mentally, I was there to keep playing. And do you know where I was at that time in my career, in being 40, young family in the UK, and not many clubs offering 2 or 3 year contracts for 40-year-olds. So, you're looking at a stage where you're probably 6-month loan contracts, or playing in the championship in England, or a year by year you could be in France, you could be in the UK, and travelling around. We had done it for 6 or 7 years in the UK, and I loved it, and it was the right thing to do for me, leaving Munster to go back and to play in the UK. But for me, in being able to walk away in the position that I was, in being fit, being in better shape than I was before I started playing professional rugby, I had an opportunity to walk out in the Premiership in England at the top, hit 40, and be happy and satisfied with my career and what I had achieved. And that was it. I was content, and I am content with my decision, and I've never kind of looked back. Still in the back of my mind, knowing that if the right thing came up, that I'd still be ready. So that's kind of my mentality, that if anything ever kind of came up in the future, I'm not saying that it ever would, but that in my own head I have that comfort in knowing that I could still compete at the highest level.
That's it kind of sounds like you're leaving the door open there.
No, I'm not leaving the door open, and you're not. The chances of anything ever happening is probably never going to happen.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that how I can kind of take comfort from the fact that I'll never play professional rugby again, I was prepared, and that I can walk away kind of feeling really good physically and mentally, and just really, really happy with what I achieved in the game.
You've obviously done a lot of punditry. Is that where you see your future involvement with rugby, or is coaching something that you would be interested in too?
I'm enjoying the punditry. It's you know what, it's a hobby, and what I'm doing at the moment in terms of working with Air Sport and doing bits and pieces in the UK with Premier and BT, and it's something that I'm getting to work with guys, you know, Dunica and Tommy, and you're with guys who you've played with and who understand the game, you know, at the same time that I would have played, and I'm really, really enjoying that, and I don't see it as a full-time thing. That's the only thing I'm going to be doing. Yeah. Because coaching is on the radar. It's something that I would love to do at some point, and like at the moment, I said I'd take the 6 months and reassess things. But you know, as soon as I commit to something that I know it's going to be full on, it's going to be 100%. And like with any coaching gig that guys get involved in, you know, it's a huge, huge commitment. And again, you're looking at where that's going to be. Is it going to be in Ireland, England, France? Do you move away? And again, I suppose that stability of those jobs are, you know, it can be a year, it can be 2 years. So when the time comes for me to decide if that's the route I want to go down, you want to be, okay, I'm ready for this, I'm ready for the travel, I'm ready for that commitment. So it's something that at the moment I'm doing this, you know, it's maximum kind of 3 month gig if you get to the end, and then again reassess. But it's something that I'm just, once I get my teeth into something, then that's it, you know.
It's weird because Paul Scholes was actually speaking about your BT Sport colleague, saying it last week that the one thing he really misses about being a player is the sort of training Monday to Friday and then a match on Saturday, and also the sort of buzz of having something really on the line every single week, and that the punditry just doesn't give that to him. He likes it, but it doesn't give him that buzz, and that's why he's so desperate to get back in, to go into management in some capacity. Do you feel that? Do you feel you're missing that?
Yeah, I do, yeah. And I'm at games. I'm in studio doing games, and you can watch them, you can analyse them, and I enjoy that analysis side of things, where, you know, you're picking out and you kind of see that high view from a stand or from, you know, behind the posts, a high angle of plays, and from my position when I played, that was my game, reading a game, understanding it, and seeing space, and doing analysis on games and teams beforehand, and, you know, going back to the 2006 and that Biarritz game, and having studied, you know, the winger, you know, before in that season, and knowing that he had a tendency to kind of slip in behind the scrum and go into that position, and just having that kind of vision and that understanding. That's what I love about the game. Not necessarily kind of being on the pitch and kind of teaching rucking drills and things like that. I see myself as someone that I understand the game and I love it, and if there was a role like that, that's something, you know, that's what I love. And, you know, you're talking about Paul Scholes, and it just doesn't give you the same, and you know that that'll never ever be replicated in terms of what you had at your pinnacle, running out in front of those huge crowds, 80,000 people, and you won't get that back. And the closest thing you can do is to be part of a team coaching, and I fully understand that, and I get it, and you get that sense of even standing, you know, for the All Blacks in Ireland game, and being a pundit and being an analysis on the side of the pitch. You know, you're so close that you could just taste it, and you want to be out there again. So yeah, look, it's something that I'd love to be part of, and to feel that kind of that adrenaline rush again.
What's that pathway then? Because if that's quite a specific role, is it video analysis? Is it defense that you're actually analysing there when you're doing that? Because that's you know, everybody thinks, oh, you're an attack coach, really, what you're talking about, but actually it's the defensive analysis is what has
you're analysing the defensive, I suppose, point of view from the opposition, and how to break that down, and I love that when you see a defensive picture and coming up with even plays. It's on the flip side, it's an attacking kind of a mindset as well, but I've always kind of looked at games and looked at teams, and okay, you can break them down this way, this is what they do, this player has the tendency to this. So it is, again, from a defensive point of view, but you also have that attack mindset, that you have the knowledge that you can break it down and you come up with kind of new ideas. So that's the side of things. Video analysis, that's it, but that's, you know,
part of it.
That's part of the start and the process that you go to. Okay, you look at the videos, you can then transfer that knowledge and that information and deliver it to players who are capable of doing it.
Yeah. So it is It's not a skills coaching role, is it? It's like it's backs coach to start with.
To start with, it is, yeah, and it's not not necessarily a kind of fundamental skills. It's just the understanding of the game, that mentality, getting guys to read kind of players' positions on the field and just to kind of think for themselves. I think that's what you want, and you want a good coach will always give players ideas, but it's how players will implement that and how they will, in the split second, change the picture and change something. Actually, do you know what? This isn't on now. It's how they think for themselves on the pitch in pressure situations.
Given that is potentially in your future, you could have stayed at Munster and had that continuity, but in retrospect, it must be hugely beneficial to have experienced a range of different coaches, the good and the bad. When you become a coach, having had bad coaches is going to be very valuable to you, because you'll be able to go, wow, that's how you don't do things.
Yeah.
At the time, you're probably thinking, this is a waste of my time.
This is it, yeah. And going to the UK, leaving Munster, as a player, I never saw myself leaving and never wanted to leave. But when you're third or fourth choice in a club, as good as the place is, as good as the environment is, it was hell. You're doing all the training, you're doing more training because you need to be fitter. Mentally, you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm not getting to run out of the weekend, so you're training Saturday, Sunday to try and make an impact when Monday comes, that you're fit, that you're not kind of having taken your weekend off when other guys have played a game. So that was a kind of a vicious cycle. So it was an environment I loved, but I had to get out for my own sanity, knowing that I could keep playing. But experiencing different coaches, then you move into the UK, playing with Saracens, and you see how different teams, I suppose, they do things differently. Saracens, quite unique in the way they do things. But I'd come from Munster. We had a way of doing things to get success, and you automatically think that is what you must do to be successful. You go somewhere else and you see, do you know what? There are different ways to do things, yet be successful. So you can kind of take little bits and pieces from different environments that have achieved success. There's not just one pathway to success.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you try and find different ways that will suit different players. The dynamic of the squads are very, very different, but being able to pick out those little bits is invaluable. And like you said, to pick out the bad bits, to make sure that you don't do those. And how I've been a part of teams where coaches do things and players are like talking amongst themselves and bad mouthing coaches, and you see that environment as well. So it's getting a kind of a blend and a mix of what's going on from a player's point of view and also a coach's point of view, because I basically became a coach in the latter years of my career. I'm there in squads with guys who are 18 years of age, and I'm older than most of their parents. You know what I mean? So it's like you're with guys who are just out of school, and you're basically a coach with these guys in that training environment.
Yeah. So that will definitely be a really valuable experience. We want to show you this. It's our depth chart. So we've been going through the depth chart of Irish rugby at the moment. It's fairly obvious that Conor Murray is in the lead and will be completely immovable for the rest of the season, assuming he's fit. Now, this was while just before Luke McGrath got his injury. So at the moment, it looks like John Cooney is really nailed on to start on the bench this weekend. Is that right? Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. I think, given, I suppose, the injury crisis, and Kieran obviously, is out for a while yet. Caelan Blades in the squad as well. Really, really impressed with him as well. He's the last kind of couple of months, what he's done for Connacht and the way they've played. Himself and Jack Carty have connected really well, and he's a really kind of an energetic guy. But I think John Cooney is a guy he's dependable. He's got a boot. He's just got that kind of calmness to him. I think that he's had that experience a little bit longer than Caelan, so I think he'll be on the bench in my eyes.
Yeah, that makes sense. The other thing is like the prototype now, because Conor Murray plays in the way that he does, and he's a world-class box kicker. Does everybody box kick because he's world-class and he's the incumbent? Is there any way for anybody else to play their way into the team, or does Conor Murray box kick because that's what his coaches are asking him to do?
I think it's a little bit of both, really. I think there's a plan there that Joe has, obviously, and you see more and more teams doing it now. Back when I first started playing, there was never really that structure to start with, and you just threw the ball around. If there was a bit of space, you kind of move it from your 22 and probably play too many phases inside there. But now it's so structured that if you don't make any advantage, and after 2 phases, it's okay. Slow things right down and kick it. And obviously helps that Conor is, you know, world-class kicker, that you're able to put it on the money, you know, 9 times out of 10, and you've got guys kind of chasing the ball, whether it's Stockdale or Earls, or just getting up for those and competing for them, and you have more than a 50-50 chance of getting that ball back. So it's a difficult one. I think you need to have a good kicking game as a 9, and particularly in the way Joe plays, and I suppose not playing too much rugby in your own 22, in your own half, if things aren't on. But it's going to be very, very difficult if you don't have an accurate kicking game to, you know, say, put your hand up and say, I need to be starting in this Irish setup.
Yeah. Cooney has a chance because of the way that things work with Schmidt, that if you do something good for him once, he trusts that more than anything else that has happened.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen it countless times. So because of the injuries, obviously Marmion has done loads of really good stuff for Joe Schmidt in the past, and so you would assume that there's some credit in the bank for that. But you know, these decisions, everything's on a knife edge ahead of a World Cup like this. It is.
It's a huge year. It's a huge year. I think, like you mentioned there, Joe, if guys front up, and it always goes back to Kieran Marmion, that time he came on the wing, and it's in Joe's head, and he's, if players don't let him down, and they do a job for him, and he's loyal to them, and it is trying to get that balance with giving guys an opportunity to play, and guys who are playing well for their provinces, and you want guys sharp going to a Six Nations. You don't want anyone, you don't want to be carrying anyone who hasn't had any, I suppose, any game time, or really, I suppose, important match fitness under their belt. So yeah, look, it's a big year. I think guys are going to have to be rotated a small bit. Big emphasis on keeping that momentum, winning a Six Nations. I know you hear Joe talking about in the media a lot about if we finish in the top 2, you know, we'll be happy, and kind of calming things down a small bit in a big year. But they'll be under no illusions that they will be out to win a Six Nations, and I think they will. Obviously England up first, it's going to be a tough opener. England, I think, will be delighted that they've got Ireland first.
Before we build up ahead of steam?
Before they build up ahead of steam, and just the first game coming together. I think England are looking in decent enough shape in terms of injuries, and in the way that they probably going to come stacked with a pretty physical and powerful team, you know.
There's been hype before around a World Cup year, on the back of a pretty good Six Nations on a World Cup year as well. How easy is it for that hype to penetrate the camp?
Look, it'll be in everyone's minds, but Six Nations is, you know, one of the best competitions to play in, and you know, you get limited time, and there's 5 games there. Guys will be focused on these 5 games. Yes, there's a bigger picture down the line, but what will help, guys will get an opportunity to play in this. They will want to be on that plane. You know, they won't want to mess up any opportunities of putting in decent performances, and you know, everyone's fighting for places, and that is the beauty with the Irish squad these days. You've got 40 guys who will look at themselves and say, do you know what, I'm in contention for starting places or places on the bench. So from that point of view, guys will be committed that whoever gets an opportunity in the Six Nations will be out to win it, and be out to win another Grand Slam. You know, the tags of Irish teams being underdogs and favouring that tag is long gone. By winning, you know, beating the All Blacks and winning Grand Slams, that's long gone. You've got to have that favourites tag, and you've got to carry that with pride, and you've got to carry that into a huge year. So it's a massive year that I would be very disappointed if anyone has sights on a World Cup before they compete in the Six Nations.
There's all these questionnaires that you guys get asked, you know, as part of sponsorship deals and all that kind of stuff, you know, to get the players in, run through a bunch of questions, and generally one of those questions is like, who would you bring to, you know, name 4 people for a dinner party. You've already had dinner with Kanye West, so it's kind of like, how do you answer that question now? It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question, I've already beaten it.
This was before he married Kim Kardashian, so if he was married to her at the time, she wouldn't have been a bad addition to the, to the table. Yeah. It was quite a surreal experience in meeting him. It was a table of 5 of us chatting about all sorts, just sitting back and enjoying the chat. He was coming out with all sorts of things that can't be repeated on air.
Can any of it be repeated?
Absolutely none of it. Absolutely none of it. The way he was going on, talking about women, talking about everything, and it was just, yeah.
Where was this?
This was in Cork. He was playing in Cork a few years ago, and I was asked to kind of recommend a place to go and eat, and a few of his buddies came along, and they just wanted chicken, and we went for chicken inside in Cork. It was just the most surreal experience ever. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
And is he cool, or is he?
He's very weird. He's very weird. He was just coming out with random things and talking about women, talking about his own music and how he doesn't really like the music industry, and he's just in it because he's an artist and has no respect for a lot of people that he has worked with. And yeah.
Was he interested in you at all? Was he asking any questions about what you do?
He had asked a few questions about rugby, and but it was just kind of out of politeness, really, more than anything. Yeah, so it was just like I said, a very surreal experience, and quite a strange individual, which I think a lot of people are probably aware of from things he comes out with on Instagram and Twitter, and befriending Donald Trump, and
Yeah. Was there a Lady Gaga at dinner as well? Was it?
There was a couple of meetings with Lady Gaga as well. There were just
the music industry connect. Is it like a secret lifestyle, you know?
Music and dancing are my two things that I've very little skill in. But I've met a few people, as a few guys have. But Lady Gaga, again, another individual. She was actually a lot more interested in rugby, because she used to go out with a rugby player in the States, and she was very keen to chat about rugby. I've met her a few times, and gave her an Irish number 9 jersey that she wore for a gig in Cork at one stage. So yeah, some interesting people along the way. So
can we expect some Gaga Kanye mashup for to finish off as your grand finale?
Yeah, you never know. You never know. I could be dancing to a little number, all right, that they might produce. So you never know. I'm looking for inspiration from all sides on this, and any moves or any inspiration I can get would be a big help.
Well, listen, best of luck. Thanks a million.
Cheers, lads.
Just a reminder that leading figures from across Irish technology, social innovation, music, sport and business will come together for the AIB Future Sparks Festival 2019. Now in its second year, over 7,500 senior level students will descend upon the RDS on the 14th of March for an event that will bring together business leaders and young entrepreneurs to inspire students and show them the power of their potential. Peter